All right, everybody, welcome back to the Inhabit Mars channel. Today I'm sitting here with my girlfriend Jenny. Say hi, Jenny.
Hello.
And today we want to look at a video that Chris posted. And this is the original image. And of course, I recommend that you go. But this is the original image here, and even in this original image you can see some stuff in the very background, the very edge of the moon, and on the far side you can see some stuff sticking up there. All right, and then he went ahead and enhanced the original image a little bit, brightened it up a little bit, uh, and he might have even adjusted the contrast on this one. But anyway, like I said, you start to see in that background some stuff that the shape of it doesn't look natural. And then, of course, he went in and took some close ups of these images, and he adjusted the images, burned through some of the obfuscation, and adjusted the brightness and contrast and brought it out. And then we took it into GIMP and we brightened it up a little bit more, put some different filters on it, sharpened the image up as best we could, and this is what we came up with, so that we could be able to model some of this stuff in here. And we're going to talk about some of this stuff. So this is a close-up. If I go back to this is about the center of that background of the moon. It's about the center of it, and that's the first close-up. And then this part right here, we didn't model a whole lot of it here because we couldn't get a lot of detail, but there was some stuff that we could actually get some detail out of, and so we modeled what we could see. And this is the third one, and I'm trying to go fast tonight because I know my videos go a little long, but this is the third image here. And there was some stuff that we modeled in here. I want to point out a couple of things in both of these two images I'm about to show you. Okay, if you look at this green circled area, can you see that, Jenny?
Yes, the green circle
Now, would you agree, do those look like craters to you?
Yeah, they look like craters.
Okay, so those look like craters, and Chris has said this, especially with the Mars stuff. Some people will tell him, hey, sometimes a rock is just a rock, and I think we have the same thing here. These three that I circled in the green, and there's more in here, but I just want to point out the difference of the two different things we're going to be looking at. Sometimes craters are craters, and then other times we get stuff that looks like this. Now, in the original image, these actually look like craters, but these are also circled in green. Now, I want you to look at these and take a close look and tell me, do you think those are craters, or do those look a little odd to you?
No, those do not look like craters to me. Those look a little more different than craters to me.
Okay, do you have an idea what maybe they look like or something?
Well, to me, they look like an archway for them to walk, that they can walk on the back where the arrows are pointing.
Mm-hmm.
In a green circle, that's what it looks like to me. Those are archways for them to walk, or walkways, I should say, and behind them, now that I'm looking at them carefully, you can see what looks like buildings behind them. You can see the sidewall on all
Ah,
of
so
them.
there might be structures behind those, but those don't look like craters, is what you're saying.
No.
And in fact, if you look at the left side of each one of those, there's no wall on the left side like a crater that is in here. Now these are craters, at least as far as we can tell. These are actual craters in this image here, and in this image here, these three are not craters. And these exact shapes are duplicated all over the surface of the moon in this image. So it's not just, you know, three that look like they're missing the left wall. Or at least from our perspective, it would be the left side of the wall. All right, and so that's some things I want to point out. So what I want Jenny to do, and I wish you could see where she's going to be pointing, is we're going to start with this first image. Now this one is actually, like I say, if you look back at that original image of the moon here, it's about, and I know this is tilted at an angle, this is the way the image came originally. This is about the center section of that back part of the moon, all right? So let's go back to this image here. And other than the three supposed craters that are there, can you see anything else? And just tell me what area you're looking at to so that they have an idea, because I can't see where you're pointing or looking, anything like that.
Right. Well, here in the red circle, I saw that earlier today when you were working on it. What that looks like, the red circle looks like a crashed airplane, because that black line that you guys see, that looks like a window for the pilots to see out. And in front of that, that looks like the nose for it.
Okay. So some sort of airplane or some sort of ship. All right, and can you see anything in this? And that's orange, by the way. I know it's
Oh,
hard to tell because our
orange.
screen on when you're using OBS, the screen that you're using is a little bit smaller, but that's actually an orange
Oh,
circle that
my
she's
bad.
talking about. Okay, what about you see anything of interest in the yellow circle?
Yeah, that looks like another aircraft, or not aircraft, my bad, airplane. Also, but from the side, like those are little windows that they can see out of in the back, and then those one wheel right there, and then the nose.
Yeah, and it kind of does have that shape, and I don't know if it'd be an airplane because, obviously no atmosphere on the moon, but maybe a spaceship. Although, and I'll show you the way I saw it when we get into the modeling section. All right, you see where that blue arrow is inside of that yellow circle?
Right.
Do you see anything interesting there?
Well, those to me look like pipes. They don't look like just random junk on the moon. Those in the yellow circle with the blue arrows pointing look like pipes to me.
Okay. All right, and the one
And
with
then
the red arrow over here that's to the right of the green circle, I'm going to get into that. That one took a lot to bring out, and right here in this image is the best we could get that. But I think I modeled it pretty accurately. And guys, there is a lot of stuff in these images. And I couldn't model all of it. Number one, we couldn't get the detail out of all of it. And number two, there's just a lot of stuff to model, and it already took a good bit of time to get this stuff to where we could see it well enough to model it. And so we modeled the stuff that we could see. Uh, let's go to this next one. All right, and now there's not a lot of stuff that I modeled on the right side of the moon. This is on the right side, as you can see in the image. It actually fades from that light part to where it got dark. All right. And can you see anything? It's going to be harder to see, but anything in this image?
well, uh, the yellow circle to me that looks like a boat, like some kind of boat, like
Okay.
whatever that word is, a abandoned boat.
Ship, or what are you saying? Like a
Yeah,
boat ship?
yeah, like a boat ship. That's what
Okay.
it looks like to me.
All right. And what about that green arrow?
Well, to me, and I've heard other things from other people, but to me, it looks like some kind of pickup truck, uh, with like some kind of camera on the top of it. Like they use those big cameras, like you guys see in movies, behind the scenes and all that. That's what it looks like to me, but on top of the truck.
Okay. And I'll show you what I saw that as once again when we get into the modeling portion. All right, one last image. Now this will be, if you look back at that original image, let me go to it here real quick. Now this will be on your far left side, actually going down because the image, the moon part is going down. This is on that far left or down, the lowest part of the image where you can kind of see that rise and everything. And this is some, oops, I went back to the wrong image. Let's try this one. Okay, there we go. And this is more towards that. No, that's not it. I'm sorry, this is back towards that middle again. Okay, yeah, this is just to the right in this image here. If you see that line that's going down in the moon, it looks like some sort of, actually it looks like some sort of riverway, but once again, we're talking about the moon. So, can you, now the stuff inside this pink circle really interested me. In fact, I have the arrows pointing to a couple of the objects that that really caught my interest. I apologize for yawning. Once again, we're recording this late at night after work, after I finally got off work. So it's try not to yawn. I'm sorry about that. Can you see anything in that pink circled area?
No, those are too far for me to see.
Okay.
Although,
And once again, our screen is a little smaller, but
in the entire pink circle, that
where the yellow arrow is, or the blue arrow, or anything else you see in there.
I see the part of the bridge, the pink circle.
Mm-hmm.
I see part of a bridge, and
Okay, it looks like a bridge. Is that where one of the arrows are pointing?
Well, it's where, yeah, one of the arrows are pointing to the bridge.
Is it? Okay, which one?
They both are. So it looks like to me.
Okay, so where both of those arrows are pointing, you can kind of see what looks like a bridge, and that's what I saw when I did it. There's also seems to be some structures in front of that. Okay, in the yellow circle, can you see anything in that of interest?
In the yellow circle?
Mm-hmm.
No.
Okay. Well, where I have those light green arrows pointed, those actually seem to be structures which have some height to them. And when we get into the modeling portion, of course, we'll get into that more. And then once again, in the green circled area, I believe those may actually be craters. They do not have the same shape as those other ones that we looked at. All right. So what I want to do now is I'm going to show you, if you remember this image here, what I did now was I took and turned that into a texture and added some displacement to it, and of course I applied it to a mesh and modeled it, and what we came up with was this right here. All right, and this is taken at approximately the same angle after applying this to a mesh that I created, and I applied this texture to it, and then we just modeled some of the stuff that we saw on top of it. And this is obviously still far in the background, but you can see that some of these actually have structure to them. All right, so that's the first one. Now then what I did was I took the camera and turned it so that we're looking at this kind of at a flat angle, looking across the surface of the moon. And to give you a little idea and perspective of what these craters and some of these ridge lines look like, and then of course you can see the structures and stuff all in the background. Wow, sorry, I gotta take a drink. Hold on. Goodness. All right, take a sip. And then this third image. Now here's a little bit of close-up of what we're looking at, some of those structures, and these are those pipes you mentioned, and then that thing you said looked like an airplane is in here. And I'm going to show you what I saw it as. And once again, guys, there's no way to tell whether we're right or wrong, if we've got it down right, or if we're just way out there in left field on this stuff. We don't know. The best we can do is clean up the images the best we can and model what we see. All right. And I got one more I want to show you here. This is another render that I made. And there's that bridge structure. If you look just where my video is and you look down below that, you can see that bridge structure. And I put as much detail as I could see in the image, and then you can see the buildings in front of it. And don't worry, when we get into the model, we'll get a lot closer to this stuff. But this is just to kind of give you a perspective of what stuff looks like. And I did place the sun in the same angle as it was in the original photograph, so we could get our shadows to match the shadows of the image. And then I had to add a very faint backlight to this, just to make sure that the backside of these objects were lit up too. So if you look at that, you'll see that you got some shadowing that should, from our perspective, match what the original image was. So now what I want to do is, let's go ahead and bring up a Blender Live. And we are going to look at this stuff and see what we can see in here. So I'm going to start at the perspective of looking at this stuff from a distance, as if you were standing in a distance and looking off to the horizon. Okay, and hang on just a second. Let me just put my image in there so you can see us, especially Jenny. Everybody likes to see Jenny. So my friend Mike always tells me that. It's always good to have her in there, because then it at least gives them something to look at. So let's start with that middle section, and let's go back to the image so you know what we're looking at here, and that was this close-up image here, okay? And this is going to be looking at some of this stuff in this area here that we got modeled. And once again, guys, there's a lot more stuff in this image, but number one, we couldn't bring out all the detail, and number two, we're just taking a lot longer to model. There's just so much stuff to model in this. So here we go. Let's go back to Blender, and let's just kind of start moving along the surface here until we get close up to some of this stuff here. And one of the first things I want to talk about is these three structures. Now in our next video, and I'll be giving you a preview of what we're doing in that video, we're going to talk more about how these may tie in with this next video. These seem to be not craters, but actually shafts, some sort of mine shafts that go down underneath the surface of the moon. And they are mining something, and I believe that's why there are a lot of pipes in that image. And like Jenny said, it looks like there's some buildings or structures behind some of these, and some of these seem to look like they have these tubes right here. All right, so I went ahead and modeled these tubes and angled them into the ground so you could kind of get a perspective of what these things look like. And at the right angles, before you cleaned them up, they did appear to be mine shafts. But when you go back to the image, let's see, this one. If you take a close look at those, and I recommend that you take a screen cap of this and zoom in, or go back to Chris's video and get the images from him and zoom in on those, you will see that those are definitely, they don't have the shape of a crater. So once again, what I did was modeled what I saw, and not every one of these had this tube on the side, some of them seem to have had buildings. All right, but there are several of them here on the surface. In fact, here's one more back here. All right, and there's one over here. There's a couple more over here. All right, and they're everywhere along here. Here's another one. And you can go back to those images and look and see that they all have the same shape, almost exactly the same shape. And so, maybe I'm wrong, maybe they're not what I think they are, but they sure do seem to be that. So let's start over here on this left side. Oops. Helps if I click on an object so it'll rotate around the object. These are those two pipes we saw in the image, and we saw them from about this angle, and this is how I saw those pipes. Click on those so we can rotate around those. And it seems this left pipe seems to have a smaller pipe that comes off and goes in the ground. Now what these would be for, I really don't know. But they seem to have this shape, and you kind of see the detail in them in the image. Which was it? That one. All right, and they're there in that yellow circled area. All right, just on the left side of the circle, to the left edge of your screen, about the center, going vertically. All right, you can see those two pipes right there, and they're there. And they are huge. They've got to be huge because they're in the very background of the image. So what those are, I don't know what they're using them for. But like I say, in our next video, I think we'll get into more of what a lot of people are theorizing that they are doing on the moon. So right next to that was this building. And I couldn't see enough detail to see if I was getting it right. But if you go back to that image, which we will, you will actually see this structure in front. Now this seems to be some sort of columns that are sticking up, and you can barely see them, but there's 4 columns on each side of this. And we can go back to this image once again, and if you look real close, almost where Chris had drawn that line going down on the right side of where I have that yellow circle, you can actually just barely, no, I'm sorry, it'll be more to the left, about the center of the circle, going horizontally, going lengthwise. You can see those columns right there, and they're there. Now, what I want to talk about in that orange circle, okay, is actually we have in that orange circle, it looks like 2 rows of these pipes, okay, and that's in that orange circled area, and we have 2 rows of them. And guys, there are pipes laying all over this moon. They are doing some sort of a mining or something. Now, a lot of people theorize that they are mining helium-3 on the moon. In fact, in our next video, we're going to take a look at what one of Chris's subs found and did a really excellent job of cleaning that up. But we have all these pipes, okay, and they're everywhere, all right? And then this is that one structure. Oops, why am I not? Hang on just a minute. My computer's unplugged. Why is my computer unplugged? Hold on just a second. There we go. Okay. Sorry about that. I didn't realize my computer was unplugged and my battery was getting low. And I was trying to look for the pause button, but my pause button is not on there. But okay, we're good. Now, in this image, in the green circled area, if you look at the top of the green circle, can you see that big box right there? You see that, darling?
Yeah.
I have no idea, but that has to be pretty huge, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And I went ahead and modeled it, okay, in Blender, and this is what it seems to look like, okay? And I couldn't tell if this part of the structure repeated on the back side, but I could definitely see that shape to it on this front side. And what that would be, I have no idea, and it's huge. I mean, if these are mine shafts that are going down into the surface and they're moving equipment in and out, then whatever this structure is, it is quite large. Bless you. Some of the other stuff you can see in that in the image was this right here. Now, if you watched my previous moon video where there were all those pipes laying around on that platform and everything, you saw tanks that looked like these. And we have those tanks once again, but this time they are inside of this structure here, which has these walls, and it appears to be concrete. And it is right behind one of these shafts, by the way. Go back to the image. And if you look where that big box structure is, once again, it would be just in front of that. It's hard to see, but it's there. One tank looks black and one looks white, and you can see that wall right there. Okay, and that was there. And then we have this building right here, which seems to be open. We could see inside of it, and it actually seems to have whatever this column-like structure is standing there. And that was in the image. All right, so we looked at that, and I'm watching my time. I know my videos go long. Gosh, I wish I could get them down. Let's see. And then we have these buildings here, which were just on the edge of the image. And the only detail I could get out of them was they kind of had this shape, and you're looking at, from the image, it'd be kind of this angle here, and then this one. But that's about all we could see out of those. All right, and we modeled those. And then I want to go into some of this stuff back here. Now let's go. Wow. Okay, that was good. Click on and then zoom. All right. And I'm going to go ahead and go back to the image first. Let's go to this one. All right. And this one is the image. Now you look at that pink circled area where the yellow arrow is pointing. And then there's a blue arrow, and that blue arrow is still pointing to part of the bridge, but it's also pointing to these buildings that are in front of the bridge. And in fact, the yellow arrow is pointing to a building. All right, let me just give you a view, and this is kind of from the same perspective. Let me just turn it just a little bit. Yeah, it was something like this here. All right, you can see this bridge has archways underneath, and you can actually see both sides of the bridge. Let's see, can I go back to the image one more time? If you snip that and zoom in, you can see both of the side walls of that bridge. And that right there is what it looked like. And then we had this building here, excuse me, which seemed to have that dome-like structure on the top. And by the way, here's another one of those shafts right here. And then we saw this building in there too, kind of a weird shaped building. And I apologize, I'm going to take a drink. All right, and that's about all the detail we can get out of that part of the image. And as you can see from the picture, there's a lot more stuff in there, but trying to draw any detail out of it was hard. Now, the yellow circled area I'm going to go to next. and that is right here. All right. So there was actually two of these. One is harder to see. This left one was the one you can see real well. And those seem to be, and they're quite large structures. And they don't seem to be quite lined up, but they have this shape to them. And I honestly don't know what those are, whether they're buildings, some sort of tower so you could look over stuff, or what they would be. But this is a shape that we saw in the image. I hate to keep going back and forth, but I don't want to make you dizzy, but inside that yellow circle, that green arrow to the left that's pointing downward is pointing to those. And there's actually two of them there, but the one is harder to see. And then the arrow that's pointing up inside of that yellow circle. Well, something's really irritating my throat tonight. Is this structure right here. And there's another one of those shafts next to it. Let's get that lined up. But this, it seems to have this shape. Oh, sorry guys, I don't know what is irritating my throat. Something is. And it seems to have that sort of shape to it, but that's what it looks like. All right, and then once again, we have those shafts that go down. All right, and then we come to the right side. And now this was harder to see if I get to the right image. Okay. This is the right side, and this stuff was harder to see. It's kind of farther off in the distance, and it was harder to bring out the detail on this. But if you see those red arrows inside the yellow circle, and by the way, that you can tell that circle was done by Chris because it's a lot smoother than mine.
It's like the perfect circle.
Yeah, it's almost perfect, you know. And he's a lot better at drawing with a mouse than I am. I cannot draw with a mouse to save my life. And Jenny could tell you, I get a little frustrated with this thing trying to do it. Just a little. But we know there's more structures behind there, but all we could really get the detail on was this stuff right here. All right. And we have this kind of square-shaped building with rounded edges, beveled edges, we should say. And it seems like these square tubes, all right, and they seem to be hollow tubes, or darker at least in the...
See, now that you have it rendered,
Mm-hmm.
what those look like vents they have in buildings.
Yeah, like ducting for buildings. I was going to say that, except these have got to be huge. They're so far in the background. But yeah, exactly, like ductwork in a commercial building. And I have to agree, that's what I thought. And then there were two more back here. And then there was this one little building, and it had this black band going around it.
See, now that looks like a guard shaft, but there's no door.
Well, at least not on the side we can see. And once again, I have no idea. And this, if you look in the image, is inside that yellow circled area. All right, to the right side, you'll see that square structure with the black band around it.
Yeah, I see it now.
And like I say, that's about all the detail we could get out of this. And there's more structures. In fact, the one that really caught my eye at first was between Chris's right yellow circle and the left arrow circle. You can... left arrow circle and the left circle, yellow circle is what I was trying to say. You can see some sort of structure with this piece sticking up. I tried everything to clean that up, everything to get more detail out of it. And I couldn't tell what it was, and I didn't want to model it if I wasn't sure of the shape of it. But let's go back to the render. And I wish I could have seen that more. If we look in the image here, you can actually see it, how it came out in our texture the same way as we applied the image to the texture. But I'm telling you, I can't see anymore. And if anything in this image looked like a plane, when you look at this from the right angle, that looks like the front nose cone of a plane, you know. But what would a plane be doing on the moon? I don't know. So there you go. That's about what we got for this video. And like I say, the bridge is the one thing that really piqued my interest. And because that was, I mean, almost definitely, I'd almost bet on that being a bridge. Now, what it connects, I don't know. All right, but that was one of the things that piqued my interest. And of course, this box right here, I mean, that thing stood out like a sore thumb. I don't know what that is. And
Yeah,
these
I
tanks,
can't make that out either.
yeah, you go back to the image and you say, what in the world is that? Okay, so that's about all I have on this video here, guys. And I'm sorry it's taken so long to get out, but yeah, with work, now that I'm back to work and everything, it's taking longer to get these videos out. On our next video, which I'm hoping I'll get out a lot sooner, we're going to take a look at this one right here. Now, this was actually a follow-up to a video he had done, this one here. He actually posted this one on November 2nd of 2019, and this is must-see structures on our moon. And what happened was, when he posted this one, was because this lady here, Sarah Michel, who is a fashion designer and photographer and has a really good eye for detail, actually posted a video. Well, I'm sorry, she posted on her page some structures that she found that were just extraordinary, that shows more mining, even a crane, what she calls a cable crane, all right, in there. And she cleaned these images up, and we are going to take a look at that. And she found this actually. She went to, I believe, to the Onhala Observatory and got the image from there. She was working on a project, and she got the images from them, and she started cleaning up the image to use it, and she wound up finding some stuff in that image. So what she did was she posted on her page about some of the stuff she was finding, and here, right here, is some of the stuff that we're going to be looking at in some of her images. And I'm hoping to be able to get this video out pretty soon. I'll just show you what I've done so far. Let me just bring that up in Blender here. Okay. Okay, let's switch over to Blender. And so far, oops, went to the wrong one. Come back here. There we go. So far, this is what I've done in Blender. And what I did was I went to the Onhala Observatory and I downloaded, can you see that in there? Yeah, you can see part of it in there. Okay, I downloaded this full-size image of the moon, which I forget how big it was, actually very high detailed. And I took this into GIMP and I turned it into a texture. I cut off all the black border and turned it into a texture, and I added some displacement to it, and so we could get we could actually map the moon. Now what I did was, just to save processing power, I'm going to show you. I cut off half of the moon because of the dark side we're not going to see anyway. But just so you can see that, and I turned this into a texture with some displacement. Yeah, you can see the displacement on there, especially in areas like this, so that we could get some texture and give it a little more lifelike appearance. Now, I believe, let me see, make sure I go to the right part of the moon. Where were those craters? Oh, I'm gonna embarrass myself, but and tell you the wrong area. But I believe those craters, yeah, I believe they were these two craters here that she was looking at. All right, and I'll have that down pat before the next video, and we'll actually get into those craters and see some of those structures in there when we get to that video. But she did some fantastic work, and I will put a link to her page in the description, and check out her page and see the work she did. Man, it's fantastic. All right, well, that's about all we got for tonight. Hope you guys enjoyed this, and what do you think, babe?
Those are some interesting blending and work that you cleaned up and rendered.
Yeah.
All those that you had put out there, I couldn't make out until you showed it, and now it does look like those. And those rectangular boxes, like I told you,
Hmm.
those look like vents, like they put above you to hide in, for people to hide in, or
Well, not for people hiding, but I know what you're talking about.
yeah,
But yeah, in the movies, people are
yeah.
crawling. Yeah, I get what you're saying. And yeah, that's kind of what they look like. What do you guys think? Let me know in the description, and please, if you like what I'm doing here, please like, share, and subscribe. And
Give it a thumbs up.
well, yeah, give it a thumbs up. Hopefully, you enjoyed the video, and hopefully, you're seeing stuff that even I don't see, or you'll let me know if maybe I'm way off base. I don't know. Like I say, I'm just trying to model what I see, and I'm not trying to tell you that that's what this is exactly. It's just what it appears to be, or the shape that it has. So, all right, thank you guys, and once again, 42 minutes. All right, you guys have a good evening then.